That being said, whenever I boot up the system, I have to do it manually because only the shutdown is covered by a schedule. And this is quite a limitation, especially for people who want to download overnight or want to have the NAS online during office hours itself. The configuration is just too limited to achieve that kind of configuration to be automated. So Synology should be adding quite a bit effort here to make a better schedule, including maybe an option that whenever an overnight backup is running or an overnight download session is started, whenever that session or backup is finished, the unit will shut itself down automatically. So that's the kind of convenience we are looking for, the schedule option, and of course the errors should be removed. So for now, due to the limitations of this schedule, I have no use for it, sadly, even though I do use automatic power up and power down. However, let's not fall over that right now. They can improve this by software. So restoring the defaults, you better not do it this way unless it's absolutely necessary and you want to start over completely. You can format the hard disk but keep settings, you can format the hard drive and reset to factory default, so you have to start all over again using the Synology Assistant to configure the device and then create your volumes again. Or you can just reset MySQL database password or delete the MySQL databases that you configured on this device, as it has a web server integrated as well. Firmware update is fairly easy. I mean, there's no online check integrated, which is sad, and we really want to see these NAS servers to check online if there's updates available and then inform you on the interface, something some of the competitions are already doing by a notification on the main page here below that there's a new firmware, a new version of a software application or whatever else. So updating is simple. You just click browse, select the file that you want to install, in this case 1144, click OK, and it will actually start updating the unit. Then there's a package management application. Again, this whole package management could do with a little update, because what you need to do is go online and download the files or check online what's available. I mean, if Synology would be integrating the options right here, it would be quite much easier to select to download it, store it directly on the NAS server, and then just click install and then follow the wizard. Whenever you browse, it would detect automatically there's new packages, you can select it and install it. So the convenience is quite a bit user-based, to browse around, download files manually and that kind of stuff, where I feel it should be just a tiny bit better done in general. Now, if you are one of those users using a Logitech radio or a Duet or whatever music player you have that work with the Logitech Squeeze Center, that's the kind of application you want to be installing via this package management. So your server becomes a music server. It integrates iTunes, which we will see later on, and all that stuff. So there's quite a lot you can add to the unit, including Usenet and other download applications. I do recommend visiting Synology.com and check out what kind of packages are available. So for the privileges, we can manage our users, group, shared folders, and of course the application settings. Now, as you can see, by default the guest user is disabled, and this is a common mistake that people with media players who depend on a guest user access fail to connect to the NAS. So the first thing we're going to do here is just edit the account and then state that it's not disable the account, so it does have access to the shares that we will be creating later on. A user can be created separately, or you can import users, but we prefer to do it one by one. So let's now quickly create one for me. I'm going to name myself Hijack today. I'm going to enter my email address and I'm going to set a password quickly, 1234. You can disallow the user to change the password, so it is forced to use the same password over and over again. You can disable the account temporarily or not. So we can click OK here, although we can still continue configuring further, including adding him to user groups. So by default you're added to the users group. We didn't create any other groups yet, so we have no options here. Then there's the privileges setup. In case you have any shares created, they will be visible here. We will show that to you later. And there's a quota management that you actually can say on volume 1 or volume 2 you can have a certain amount of gigabyte or megabytes. Let's just say you're allowed to have 500 megabytes on the first partition, but you can have about, let's see, come on, it actually doesn't want, oh, I have to click on here and then just actually give it 100 gigabyte on this one. We can click OK and the volumes will be applied. However, we're not going to do that. Just click OK here and my user account is created here. The same option you have with groups. You can actually create new groups. Let's say we have a group name called admins, which is of course the group that is allowed to administer my unit. And we can now actually configure the unit here and select edit members and then select which members are added. So I click on add and then can say okay, hijack and the administrator belong to this group. So we just click OK and you can see it added both in there. Same thing happens when creating a new user. So if we're going to do this again now and call myself hijack2, just admin at MPC Club 2.com, doesn't exist, 12345 12345. As you go to the privileges setup, in the user groups, you can see the admins group we just created is now available. We can click it and then just select OK and it will have been added to this group automatically. Same thing for the shared folders. As long as you don't create any folders, you cannot assign users or groups to access the data. So we need to create a folder first, which we're going to do right now. Just going to call it media. No description is necessary. You can select on which volume 1 or 2, you'll be creating this volume. You can hide it so it's not visible when browsing my network places, much like a hidden share would work on a PC, and you can encrypt share or not. However, notice the encryption is limited because you can't select any folder inside a share. It must be encrypted on the share level itself, which means everything beneath the share is also encrypted. So we're just going to create the media group here, and as you can see we can now start selecting who has access to the units or not, which is going to give myself read write and the users read only. And then you have advanced privileges as well, where you can disable direct browsing and then all that stuff. You can test it out whenever you have the unit. Now for local users, save changes, click OK. Okay, for local users you can see here's the guest access that we have enabled. You can add read only, then click OK, and voila, we're done in configuring the media share for the media players. Now in case anything is in conflict, like adding a user account to a group and then goes with adding a user to a group having read and write access, if you go to the user level itself and you change the user level to read only, there's obviously a conflict, and Synology is smart enough to detect a conflict and inform you about it. So this is quite a good option. And the last item that we have here is obviously application settings, where you can allow users to connect to certain services of the unit, including FTP, file station, audio station, download station, and surveillance station.